So with set notation, you need to use squiggly brackets, I call them. They look like this, right? And remember, with the domain, we're looking at permissible x values for this particular situation. And you always have to state the lowest value first and then the greatest. Okay, so for set notation, we would go from -3, right? And then we write down the actual variable. In this case, it's x, but down the road, it could be different, right? Whatever is associated with your x value, that's the letter you got to use here. So you're saying that x is greater than -3, but it's less than or equal to 3, which is the highest value. So that's how you come up with your domain in set notation. So whenever you're dealing with sets, you want to be using the squiggly brackets. Don't use round or square brackets. That would be wrong. Okay. For the range, you're looking at permissible y values, right? The lowest this line, this particular graph goes is -2, and the highest is +2. Okay, so you're going to go from -2 to 2. And this varies, okay? So you got to look at your graph and go with the graph, okay? Oh, somebody has their hand up. Or is it still from earlier? Anybody have their hand up still? Or Andre, did you have a question, or is it just up from earlier? Okay, no problem. I just want to make sure I get it right. Okay, so this is set notation. Interval, notice that all four, like all the basically sides are always filled dots like this, right? You remember open dots versus closed dots, right? So when it is closed, right, you can use square brackets. So for domain, we're going from -3 to +3. No need to include the variable. That's why a lot of times I suggest you just stick with this one, the interval notation. Okay, and then you go from -2 to +2 like this, right? Always lowest first. Okay, so I'll make a note, lowest first. Okay, you can't flip this. Like even if you put -2, it's incorrect. It's wrong. Okay, let's move over to this situation here. For my domain, right, I'm going from the lowest x value, which is -2. Oh, wait, I think I'm making a mistake here. Normally, this isn't wrong per se, but normally you want the variable first because you notice that -2 is the lowest x value. Does it have a greatest x value? The arrowhead here indicates that it's infinity. It keeps on going, right? So I will rewrite this. I apologize. It's still saying that x is greater than -2, but in general, right? To have this correct, you just go x is going to be greater than -2. Done, like that. There's no end to it. It just has a start and just keeps going. Okay. Did you just join now, Gur Sahib? Okay. And then for the okay. And then for y is the same thing. The lowest y value is -4. So it's going to be, y is going to be greater than or equal to -4, right? Just keeps on going up and there's no top. So then it changes, right? This has ends. This one only has one end, okay? So it just keeps going. Interval, for x, you're starting at -2 and you're going to positive infinity. And you cannot contain infinity, so it has to be a round bracket, okay? Same with the y, you're going from low, which is -4, to positive infinity, round bracket. Don't put square brackets around infinity ever. It's just inaccurate, okay? Let's keep going. I'll give you some more graphs. So C, X and Y, we're gonna go from up here, so just 1, 2, 3 like that. And then we're gonna use, it's gonna be a curve going down like this. And we're just gonna indicate that this top here is 0, 3. And then we're gonna make one last one. Where we're gonna go down to -5. So I'm going to make this a little smaller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. So this would be -2, -4, -6, and so on. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 or so back. Okay. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right along the x-axis here. And same, you got to be consistent, right? Because I chose to do that along the y-axis, so you have to continue that. So this would be 2, 4, sorry, 2, 4 is here, never mind. This is 4 right here. Okay, so this is 2 positive here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go find -3, -5. Okay, so -3, -5, and make an open dot there. And we're going to go to 2, 3. And again, this is just approximately a closed dot there. So 2, 3 up here, -3, -5 down here. And then we're going to connect those two. And I'm going to use a red. And the same thing here. We're going to go domain and range. Split it up into both notations. We're going to go domain and range here. And split that up as well into set, interval, set, interval. Okay. So for the domain on this one here, okay, you're only gonna focus on x values, right? So it only starts appearing when x is equal to 0, right? Because you always go from smallest to biggest, and there's nothing here, nothing here, nothing here until you get to x is equal to 0, and then the line starts appearing. And as long as you travel on x, you'll be able to see that line, right? Because it just continues. So for this one here, when it doesn't have another end, it just has a start, no end, then it's x is greater than or equal to, because it's a closed dot, 0. And you go like that. For the range, same thing. However, this is the highest value, correct? Then it goes down from there. So you would say y is going to be less than or equal to positive 3, right? Because that's the highest it goes, so it'll just be less than at that point. Interval notation, you're going from 0 to infinity, round brackets, square brackets here. For range, you're going from, like, what's smaller? Infinity seems kind of big. But the truth is that it's negative infinity. Okay? Because of this, it's going to negative infinity here in terms of the y. So that is smaller than 3. Okay? So I introduced the negative infinity there. So I'm kind of telling my students, scan the x from left to right and scan the y from the bottom up, right? So you're coming from negative infinity and you stop at 3 when it comes to the y. And then you start at 0 and you keep going to positive infinity when it comes to your x, okay? Next one here. This technically is capped off, so this is a line segment, okay? So you're going from, in terms of your x, you're going from negative 3, but it's not including negative 3, so it's just greater than, right? So negative 3 to positive 2. So it'll be less than or equal to 2, because 2 here is included, so you can use the equal to squiggly brackets. See how my squiggly brackets start to look interesting? As long as they're squiggly like that, you're good. Even though they kind of look like this, right? So you've got that, and then for range, we go from negative 5 to positive 3. And it's not, negative 5, right? Negative 5, not including, but including the 3. Okay? And how do you take care of the equal missing when it comes to interval notation? Well, you use round brackets, right? You go from negative 3 to positive 2, but that's included. And then you go from negative 5 to positive 3, included, not included. Okay? So there's a closed domain sometimes. There's a closed on both sides. Sometimes it's closed on one side, open on the other side. But there's no infinity here, right? Because you have no arrowheads anywhere. Okay. Okay, let's now switch over to your calculators. So if you have your calculators on you, that'd be great. And I'm going to give you notes on using your calculator. So we're going to kind of take some notes, practice, take some notes, practice. I found that a lot of students appreciated that because I just know how to use it already. So I know the little nuances and everything, but you are new to it, right? Using the TI 84. Okay. So we have, first thing is mode. So whenever you have the square brackets, that's just a button that you're gonna have to press. Okay. So when we press mode, we want math print. We want it to be a normal setting. Degrees. We want stat. Diagnostics off. And we want stat wizard off as well. And I will make a little side note here that the enter button is also the equal button. Okay, so you can know that. So before we continue, I'll do the next line yet. So second mode exits current screen back to home. So let's do that part right now. So turning it on, there should be an on button at the bottom left. That is also your off button. Okay, your calculators will turn themselves off after a while. They have a, I think, 5-minute or something screen time, and then it will just turn off. So on there, one thing to remember is the battery. Make sure that once it turns yellow, you're getting, halfway. Red is low. So you don't want to wait too long, right? Keep it charged. Because the worst thing that happens when you come in for a test or whatever and it's dying on you, right? So keep it charged and you should be fine. So let's go to mode here. So turn it on. You should see a whole bunch of stuff on there because somebody used it just before you. Okay, last semester. So you want to press, you want to turn it on, of course. So if you go, I'm going to turn it off. So second on turns it off, right? If you press second, that's that blue button here. You turn it off. So if it's off, now you're pressing on. And at the top, it tells you kind of what the settings are already. But I'm just gonna show you where you can change those. So you go mode, and using your arrows, right, up, down, and side lets you change things. So if you go to the very first line, that you want that to be math print. If it is set to classic, like this, for example, what you want to do is you want to go left to math print and then hit enter. It will select math print. Okay, so you want it in math print. You want normal. You want float. You do not want radians. Okay, you want it to set to degree. Function is good. Thick is good. Sequential is good. Real is good. You want the full screen. Fraction type, don't worry about it. Answers auto. This is the two that some students turn them on for some reason. So it could be that it's on yours. So stat diagnostic, you don't want that on. It's kind of confusing. It kind of tries to sometimes correct things for you. I'd rather it not be on. And stat wizard, I would like that to be turned off as well. If you have that, you're in good shape. Okay. So again, the next thing that I showed you is how to quit a screen back to your home screen. And that is second mode, right? So if you press second, as soon as you press second, by the way, look up to the screen right now. As soon as you press second, you should see an arrow up there. See that? Next to your battery. If you press second again, it's going to be deselected. So second mode gets you back to the main screen. This is called our home screen. This is where you can do calculations and you name it, right? You can go copy, like if you're on your home screen right now, go arrow up. You should see a light blue section that selects certain things on that screen, right? If you were to press enter right now, like I'm on 691.66, if I hit enter, it copies it down to my calculation that I'm about to do. So it's like a nice copy function. So you have no excuses not to use all decimals, okay? Press clear. There's a clear button on your calculator. It's just right here. If you press clear and then clear again, it will clear the whole screen. And you're like, no, I wanted it, right? If you go arrow up, it will actually still be there, right? Everything you've done for quite some time. Okay, so clear, clear. It will just clear every line at once. I'm going to go all the way arrow down. And then if you press clear, clear, it will get rid of everything that's on your screen. Okay, so there we go. Let's keep going. Okay, so clear, obviously. Press once, right? One time. That deletes row. If you go times 2, entire screen. Okay, that's that. Sorry, I'm noticing that it's kind of crooked there. Okay, another one that you want for later is second hat. Like if you press that hat button, that is your pi button, right? Try it right now. So second hat, it's good to find all the buttons, right? If you go second and then press that hat button, which is just under clear, right? That's your power button, your exponent button. But that, and if you hit enter, once you got pi, it will actually show you what pi is, right? Let's keep going. Second, x2, right? So this is a button as well. That is your square root. Square root button. If you press math, this you're going to need at some point. If you press the math button and 4, press 4, that is the cube root. Cube root. Let's try that right now. So square root, for example, you would just press second and then press the x2 button. By the way, the x2 button also squares something. So second x2 and then type 9 or something, hit enter, you get 3, right? If you want the cube root of something, you got to press math, which is right under alpha, right? So there's second alpha math. Press math, and then you have a whole bunch of options here, and you want the fourth option, right? So these are options. So you can press number 4, or you can go arrow down and hit enter to select it. Either way works. And so let's find the cube root of 216, right? For example, and it's 6. Right, so there's your cube root. That cube root won't be necessary until later, so I might have to review that. but there it is, exponents, right? Press the hat button. So example 3 to the 4, right? You would enter 3 and then hat and then 4, which should give you 81. So I'll show you what that looks like on the screen. 3 hat. See, when you press hat, then it immediately goes up. Wait for it to come down or go sideways if you want to like add something to it. But if you go add right away, it's going to add to the exponent, so you got to watch out for that. Okay, so you got to go arrow sideways, then it comes back down to the main line. Anyways, I'm going to delete. Delete is another good button to know. So watch this. The delete button is right up here. My pencil is over it. That deletes anything that you might want to get rid of. And then hit enter, and it's 81, right? 3 to the power of 4. So there's that. The X2 button. Squares a number, of course. And then there's this one, which is very important. There's actually a button that has a negative in brackets like that. It's at the bottom close to enter. Okay, used to enter a negative value okay, and I'll say this. Don't use subtract. Okay, don't use this button. So if you're trying to talk, if you're trying to say, hey, -3, don't go -3. Oops. Don't go minus, it doesn't like that, eh? Okay. If you go -3, right, it will just subtract. But if you want to enter -3, you have to use -3 like that. Like the negative in brackets, you're talking -3, okay? And I'll show you where that is important in a bit. So example, -13 squared, right? We would go bracket, that's a button, and then we would go negative, that is also a button, 13, and then bracket x2, which is also a button, and that should be 169. So just to show you, right, I would go bracket -13 to the power of 2, which is just your x2 button, that's 169. If you use, I'm using, you can actually tell that this is a negative, right? And this is the subtract, right? I believe you're going to get an error. Yeah, right there. It's telling me it doesn't like it. Syntax means like the way you typed it in, it's not good. So you can either quit, it takes you back to the main screen, or you can say go to. It will usually point you to the mistake that it doesn't like. So if you hit enter, it will highlight that it doesn't like that. So I'm just going to press the negative, change it, and then hit enter, and then it works. Okay. To copy a previous answer or expression, use the up and down arrows. Highlight, then press enter. This only works on the yellow sets, which is for all of you right now. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Counting for those that are at home. Okay, graphing lines with the TI-84. Okay, first step is rewrite all equations to y is equal to mx plus b. Second step is press y equals. There's a button that is y equals. And then third, enter equation or equations, right? I should put that in brackets like this, into y1, y2, and that keeps going as many equations as you might want to graph. There's a bunch of stars here. You know, when you enter a contest or whatever, there's like star this, star this, star this, and I'm going to give you all those stars like fine print, right? Always clear old equations by hitting or pressing clear. Another note, plot 1 needs to be turned off. If highlighted, it is on. Okay, so we want to get rid of that. Triple star, right? You only have the option of using x as your variable by pressing the button, and this is exactly what the button looks like. And the last one, 4 stars. Is this like a review or something? Reviewing how good the class is? If the first value is negative, we call the first value the leading coefficient, right? Use this button, not the other button, which is a negative just like that without the round brackets around it. It's scarier than what it is, okay? Soon you're gonna be, now you can press graph. But if you don't account for all those things here, you're gonna get an error and you're gonna be frustrated, okay? Can't see anything. It's like troubleshooting, right? Press, zoom, that's a button as well, followed by number 6. I'll tell you what it does. This will set the window values to default. So that's -10. This will make sense to you later. 10, 10, -10, 10. So this is X-min, X-max, Y-min, Y-max. That'll make more sense to you later. Understanding the window function. So at the end of today, you're going to be overloaded with information. I won't really be able to give you homework on this, but it's necessary, okay, to have a good start to the calculator. So just try to get this down, and then we'll talk about that later, okay? The window values essentially determine the section of the coordinate plane that will be displayed by your screen. If the values are set to look at quadrant 1, okay, but the line or the graph is in quadrant, let's say 3, mainly, then you will not be able to see the line. This is very important, understanding your window, okay? And this is what you will look at when you press window. X min, X max, X scale, Y min, Y max, Y scale, X res. And the only ones I want you to focus on would be the X min and X max. Determines the X values displayed. And then these two here determines the Y values displayed. And I will just say, other teacher, like whoever's your grade 12 applied teacher might say differently, but don't change the rest. Like you don't have to worry about them. Okay. Like the other entries, you won't worry about them. Yeah. So once you turn this on, make sure you write this down first, and then you will press the window button on your calculator, which will have things in it. I'm gonna zoom out a bit. Okay, so press the window button for one moment here. If you press window, it's so the y equals, that's where we're going to enter our equations. The window is where we're going to set these parameters, and then there's a zoom option. Okay, we're essentially going to use all 5 up here at some point. Okay, so let's press window button, and there it is. There's Xmin, Xmax. Your entries are different, don't worry about it. And then there's the Ymin, Ymax. Those are the 4 you need to be comfortable with changing. Okay. So let's all go to y equals for a bit. So everybody press y equals. If you have stuff in there, go to every single y and just press clear, and then keep going up and press clear, and then just keep pressing clear until you have nothing there. Okay, so make sure that everything is erased, and then make sure that any of these plots up here is deselected. So what I suspect a lot of yours will be on like this. It will be selected. You want to go all the way up with your arrow, hit enter, and then you will see that it's no longer highlighted. So that's how you know they're turned off. If you have those on, you will probably have issues. Okay, I will show you, there will be a time and a place where we'll turn those on, but not now. So let's all press, let's say we wanted to graph negative 2x plus 1, right? Negative 2x plus 1. So you got to press the negative. Let me just zoom out here a bit. You got to press the negative down here, all the way down here where my finger is, down here. Press negative 2, right? This is your X button right here. This is the only one that will allow you. Don't press times because that's going to be wrong. This is your X button. Times is going to be a star like that. That's wrong. You're going to go X like that. So negative 2x plus 1. If you could all type that in, that would be great. And notice that every line has a different color, pretty much. You can change that. I'm not going to show you how to do that because I don't think it's that important. So now everybody hit graph. You should be seeing something like this. Okay. If you do not see something, and I have a pretty good feeling there are a few that aren't going to see anything in here. Who's not seeing anything right now? You're not seeing anything? Okay, don't panic. I actually want this to happen. Press zoom. Everybody do this anyways now. Press zoom. And number 6 is zoom standard. So we're all going to see the exact same thing. So press zoom and then 6. It's going to regraph it, and then you're going to see it. If you didn't see it before, now you should see it. Do you see it? Yeah? Okay. So you've now, what has happened now, everybody now go with me back to window. Once you've graphed this, once you've pressed zoom 6, everybody go back to window. You should all have the negative 10, 10, negative 10, 10. That's like a standard window setting. Okay? Let me zoom in again. So this is what zoom 6 does. It takes this back to, if you change this around and you like it makes things worse, zoom 6 takes us back to a standard window like this. Okay? And then if you want to see the graph again, you go graph. You just press graph again, and then you go back to the graph. Let's add another line. So y equals, everybody follow me, we're going to go 3x plus 20. 3x plus 20, and hit graph. See that? There's a red line. Can you see where it's going to cross the y-axis right now? You can kind of predict, but you can't see it, right? You don't see it crossing the y-axis, right? So what would you have to do to make that happen? You have to increase the y max, because the top here is called the y max. This is your limit. So let's go to window, and we're not going to change our x here. We're going to go all the way down to y max. It's the maximum y value you're seeing. We know that it's 20, right? So we're going to go 30, because you want to always overcompensate so you see more, you see beyond. So change the y max to 30 and then hit graph again. Now you should see it crossing your y-axis. And notice, look how the scale has changed, right? You notice a different scale here compared to here, right? The ticks are closer together. It's making up for that. Okay, so there it is. That's how the window works. Okay, before you go, look at your screens right now. I have made this, which I use every year, that I find it makes it easier for students to follow. Okay, so imagine that this is your window, right? So there's the x min on the left side, there's the x max on the right side, there's y max on top, y min here. So if your window settings are set to look over here, your line is still being graphed, but you're not seeing it. Okay, so you need to change your window. It's like, oh, I see some of it, but not all of it, right? What do you need to do in this case? You need to change your y min to a value that's further back. So let's say you're at here, you would be at about -2, right? If you change it to like -20, you would probably see more. And so you need to adjust. We are particularly interested in x-intercept and y-intercept. So you're going to have to make adjustments. And there's not a right or a wrong window, by the way. There's only, all I care about is, do you see everything? So sometimes one student will have a certain window, and you might think it's a different line than mine. No, it's not. It's just zoomed in differently. Okay? So there's that. So I think I will stop it there. We'll continue, so you get to enjoy a long weekend without any homework, unless you haven't done the rewriting yet. Maybe do that. Okay.